Coming up on today's episode of DLLS Mavs, what's the one word that you would describe the identity of the Mavericks this season? Plus, we dial up the Stein line on an all-new episode of DLLS Mavs. Here we go. Hey, what's up, DLLS Mavs Nation? It's your man, Kevin Gray, alongside Mavericks insider Tim Cato, Mavericks analyst Bobby Karalla, and the Stein line, our national and Mavericks NBA insider, Marc Stein. We are DLLS Mavs, your favorite guys covering your favorite team every single day. You can find me on X at Kevin Gray Sports, at Tim_Cato, at Bobby Karalla, and you can dial up the Stein line at the Stein line on X. Today, Mavericks open up training camp in Las Vegas. Marc Stein, we're going to be dialing up the Stein line at 12:15. He's going to be joining us here, as you could see, for our very first segment as well. What's the identity of the Mavericks going into this upcoming season? And also, Jason Kidd talking about fostering competition. Who has the most to prove for the Mavericks going into training camp this time around? Tim, Bobby, and Marc Stein. Gentlemen, what's going on?
Doing great. I'm glad that we got Mark. I didn't know he was going to be here for the first segment. How's Vegas?
I love being in Vegas, man. I can't lie to you guys. You know, many years ago when I was just a college student, Vegas was in our league. Vegas was a PC 2A school, and then we became the Big West. And so Vegas, I know we're supposed to say that Madison Square Garden is the basketball mecca, but in my youth, my upbringing, my falling in love with this game, going to college at Cal State Fullerton, going to Vegas was something special. It was the trip within the conference that you wanted to go to. This was many years before Summer League in Vegas, probably might have even been before some of you were born on this set. And close.
Am I the youngest one, really?
By far.
By far.
I mean, I'm 37.
I'm 33.
I don't like saying my age.
How old am I? Oh, I'm 33. Okay.
Oh, you couldn't remember how old you were? Well, relax, Bobby.
Oh, my
Jeez.
God.
I'm 30.
I think my math is right then, because this is my 32nd season covering the league. So I was in college. I think that means I was in college before Bobby Karalla was born.
You don't look a day over 31 seasons, Mark.
Oh, that's sweet, Bobby. That is sweet. Look at you.
But anyway, that was my long-winded way of saying I love basketball in Vegas. Is just, whether it's Summer League, whether it's going to the Thomas and Mack, it is always special. And I got to say too, Sunday I got back from Europe and I was worried, like, you're going to go from Europe to media day to the West Coast. How will your body react? Last night at about 8 p.m., I was struggling. I thought I was done for. And then the phone started ringing, got on the phone, started, chasing the gossip. The talks were starting. And next thing I knew, I made it to midnight. And so I actually feel decent. I'm ready to go. I'm going to practice right after this. So,
Mark, is it good or bad? So I've been to Vegas like 9 times in my life. Every single time it's been in July. Well, except for that one Summer League. It's always been for Summer League. There's one time Summer League was in August. Do I need to visit Vegas another month and not just?
Yeah, look, Summer League is awesome. The festival that they have created here with how big it is, but July, you do not want to come here it's still 100 now. I mean, last night it was like 104 at landing, but as they say, it's a dry desert heat, so it's fine. But yeah, you need to be here. November to March is when to get here.
Let me put it this way. We sent you out to Vegas, but I will be traveling a lot this season. Stayed back this time, but I will be on the road for several games. And when the Mavericks make the in-season tournament final in Vegas. I guess I got to go to that.
Well, when the Mavs
And that's a great
relocate to
month.
Vegas in 7
Relax,
years.
Bobby. Relax.
Oh,
Do
I wasn't
not
supposed to
do
say
that.
Oh,
Do
my
not
bad.
start that
My
in
bad.
here on
Yeah,
DLLS
wasn't that in
Mavs.
your
I broke
Oh,
my NDA.
geez.
yeah, your NDA, you know, like
Okay.
the secret plan that the Mavericks, every Mavericks
It's
employee is
over.
in on?
Yeah.
What's the one word you would describe the Mavericks as an identity this upcoming year as the Mavericks begin training camp today? PJ Washington was asked that question yesterday as how he would describe the Mavericks this upcoming season. Take a listen and a look to what PJ had to say about the Mavericks and their identity this season.
The word I would use is versatile, and I think my experience this year with this team, we just have a lot of guys that are hungry, obviously, a lot of guys that want to be champions and that work like champions. So I think for us, is like I said, the sky's the limit, and we're just taking it one day at a time.
The word PJ Washington uses is versatile. So I pose the question to you in the chat, as well as our guy Marc Stein, who of course is live in Las Vegas. What would be the one word you would use to describe the identity of the Mavericks as they begin training camp today, Marc Stein?
Well, I think the first word after seeing that clip, the first word that comes to mind is aghast, because I think that was the back of Tim McMahon's head that was obscuring the shot.
It was
And Tim Cato, there was 2 Tims in
it
one
was
shot.
my ear was also in shot, but yes, that was the back of Tim McMahon's head. Just off
I
screen,
think-
Joe Varden,
I
former
think
athletic colleague.
Not part of that I was not supposed to be in this segment is going to be revealed now, because I have to say I do not love that give us one word to sum up question that was thrown at like 7 Mavs yesterday in the press conference room. I have to admit I am not a fan of that kind of question. But since you have
To
posed
your
it,
point, PJ Washington was the only player that gave an interesting word. It was a lot of like people not coming up with words. Actually, shout out PJ. Versatile was a good, interesting word. None of the other questions landed.
it's that's always a hard one. Like, sum up your life in one word. You know, it's not, again, not my favorite line of questioning, but I will play along after my whining and say I'm going to go with pragmatic, because what I did like hearing was they realize after going to the finals, you know, championship or bust. Championship or bust is probably too strong in this Western Conference, because so many things can go wrong in this West with so many teams that are capable of winning it. But this team knows the championship is the only thing missing. A championship is, they were one step away last year, and that is the clear goal for this team. Jason Kidd certainly did not shy away from it. Luka Doncic, when he eventually gave his one-word answer, it was championship. This team knows that that's really the only thing left to do. So I did like that they understand that, and there's an acceptance of that already, I would say.
I think that my word is similar, decisive. If I have to choose one, and I'm kind of in the same boat as you, I tend not to ask that question ever in most contexts. But I think decisive, you know, and I think that plays off of pragmatic. But this team looked at what happened in the NBA Finals. They said, we couldn't shoot, and they went and got shooters. And they did it in a way that was bolder than a team that just went to the finals than you might think they need to be. But also, Dallas did need to do this. This is something Dallas needed to do. They needed to go get players like this. I have said on this podcast, I was a little surprised the first time I saw the Klay rumors, just because it was a departure from the way that the team was playing. But we saw the ceiling of the way this team was playing. And the ceiling was losing in the finals.
Yeah.
And they want to be one step above that. There are still some questions. There are still things to find out about this team. There are possibilities where it goes awry. I think, in all likelihood, it's at least going to be a wash. And I do think that this team gave itself a higher ceiling. But yeah, decisive. To go to the finals, to see a flaw, to address it, I think that's what a front office is here to do.
Mine is contender. Front office behaved like a contender. They targeted Klay Thompson, one of the best free agents and biggest names available, and they got him. Jason Kidd behaving like a contender at Media Day yesterday, calling out Luka and saying Luka's got a guard, Everybody's got a guard. Like, these are things that you can really only say if you're trying to climb the mountain, right? The players are talking like contenders, saying that we want to win, saying that we're all in and all that stuff. And so now it's up to them to play like a contender, to behave like contenders on the floor, to approach the season like a contender would. No nights off. Everybody's got to make a sacrifice.
Days
all
off.
These things, like that's the thing that they're going to have to do. And that is a deserved approach. That is the correct approach. They proved to themselves and to the world last year that they are part of that inner group of realistic title hopefuls. And in order to stay there, you got to play like that for 82 games. And in order to win the title, you're going to have to play like that for at least 16 more. So I think contender is my word.
Najee Marshall using the word ferocious yesterday. Reader's Digest pointing that out as far as what Najee Marshall had to say. The word I'll use is hungry. This team had a taste of what it was like to get to the NBA Finals, going through that run last year. And I think the theme from yesterday is that this team is hungry to get back to that moment, but this time have an opportunity to seize on it. And I think we'll see that as far as training camp is concerned, the competition that will be fostered there. But night in and night out, there will be a certain intensity that I think this team will bring that'll show what kind of hungry nature that they would bring to their opportunity to get back to the NBA Finals. So that would be the word I would choose, because now you're trying to get guys to buy in, not necessarily buy in, but continue down the path that they were on last year, which is, hey, defending, we know we got to execute on that side of the floor, but also offensively, what each guy can bring every single night. And I think they're hungry for that challenge as they get ready to begin training camp today, Mark.
Yeah, look, I mean, there is, again, it's a high stakes season. And I think the tone of what we heard yesterday, I think by and large, everybody on this team understands that. And again, there are no promises. In this West, there are going to be some very good teams that lose in the first and second round of the playoffs, because this West is a nightmare. And so, I mean, the Mavericks are, they're vulnerable just by virtue of their address, but they understand how they're going to be judged and what is left to achieve. And let's see if they can go out and do it. And to Tim's point, it was not easy to get Klay Thompson because of the salary cap machinations. It's not like they had zillions of dollars in cap space. So to pull off the move they made and add Grimes and Marshall, it's funny. I've seen a lot of my colleagues in the national media are just like, the Mavs had kind of a neutral offseason. I mean, it doesn't guarantee they're going to win that championship, but I don't see how you can say it was a neutral offseason. With very limited flexibility, they brought in 3 players who should help. And in Marshall's case, obviously, to mitigate the potential downsides of Derrick Jones Jr. leaving. So, I mean, with the limited resources and flexibility that they had, I think they had a really strong offseason.
We'll see how the Western Conference, it's going to be tough. It's a tough conference. Maybe slightly less tough than it was a few days ago. We're going to talk about Cat later on. Marc Stein, you won't be there for that segment. If you were to sum up the Karl-Anthony Towns trade in one word, what is it?
Why are you limiting me to one word after I just so passionately.
That's why. That's why.
Vexing. It was vexing. And it's the timing. The Knicks have had interest in Karl-Anthony Towns for a long time. In my Monday, I did a deep dive Monday on my Substack about the trade, and I talked about how, Gerson Rosas, formerly in the Mavs front office, and, he has been in New York's front office now for, I think it's 2 years and change. And I think this move is a reflection of his strong and increasing influence there, because even though Leon Rose was Karl-Anthony Towns' agent, based on everything I've been told, Gerson Rosas is the #1 Karl-Anthony Towns fan in the Knicks front office. But so the Knicks' interest in Karl-Anthony Towns, not a surprise. And I do think there are really some strong basketball reasons why the Wolves did it as well, because everything I've been told is they really want to make sure that they can keep Naz Reid and Nickeil Alexander-Walker. And by moving Towns now for Julius Randle's contract, that should enable the Wolves to have the flexibility to make sure they don't lose Naz Reid, who, let's not forget, the Mavericks had interest in Naz Reid. Naz Reid never made it to free agency. Had Naz Reid made it to free agency and had Naz Reid not done an extension with the Wolves when he did, you would have seen Dallas going after Naz Reid. So he's a player a lot of teams are high on, and his ability to stretch the floor as a 5, he's going to, I think he's the player who gives, among the reasons that the Wolves have confidence that they could move on from Karl-Anthony Towns. And also Minnesota's interest in Dante DiVincenzo has also been a long-standing thing. But just the fact that this happened on Friday night before media day, when it happened, is what really shocked people around the league. And I think you saw Karl-Anthony Towns' reaction. He was in the gym Friday working out, getting ready for his 10th media day as a member of the Wolves. After the trade was made known to him, he went back to the facility again to shoot free throws at like 3 a.m. because he was so in shock that he was no longer a member of this team. And you rarely see a trade of this magnitude at this time of year. Again, this was not like last September when Damian Lillard and James Harden had active trade requests on the table. This came out of nowhere timing-wise, not interest-wise. We know Minnesota liked DiVincenzo. We know the Knicks had liked Towns, but just timing-wise, so late in the summer, so close to the start of training camp, it was. And this is a trade that featured, Towns and Randall were all-stars last year, both of them. So this was a blockbuster in the true sense.
Coming up here in just a moment, we'll dial up the Stein line. Mark will have his news and notes as he is live from Las Vegas as the Mavericks begin training camp. And a little bit later on, who has the most to prove as the Mavericks begin training camp today?
But first, let's talk Empire Today. With Empire Today, you get shop at home convenience, the right product for your needs, quick and professional installation, and a low price guarantee. Empire is the best place to get new flooring, so of course they got copycats, but Empire can't be beaten on quality, service, and speed. They keep shopping for floors simple with a curated product selection, and you can shop for floors where you use your floors. With their Virtual Floor Designer, you can just point your phone at your floor, take a picture, and boom. You see what your new kitchen tile looks like. You see what your new hardwood in your living room will look like. Or your floor in the DLLS studio headquarters will look like.
Or your basketball court.
Or anything.
Anything.
There's unlimited possibilities, and they even service their own warranties. So if an issue does arise, just call Empire. They service all warranties themselves. You don't got to track anybody down. No, they'll take care of you. Schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners can receive a $350 off discount when they use the promo code DLLS. Restrictions may apply. Again, promo code DLLS. See empiretoday.com/DLLS for details.
Bobby, we're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data. And we trust Indeed data on this show. It's also got a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, messaging, so you can connect with your candidates faster. It doesn't just help you hire. 93% of employers agree Indeed delivers highest quality matches compared to other job sites. Listeners of this show get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/allcity. Just go to Indeed.com/allcity right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/allcity. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
Appreciate you, gentlemen. We have Marc Stein joining us live from Las Vegas as the Mavericks begin training camp today after they had their media day. And now they have an opportunity to get on the practice floor, Mark, because it's time to get to work for this team as we get ready for training camp today. Just your reflections on what was a fantastic media day yesterday. Now the Mavericks now have a chance to do no more talking, but get on the floor and start to get to work as they prepare for this upcoming season.
Well, I guess 3 standout moments for me from media day. Obviously, the chance to sit down with Luka and chat with him, I think was, certainly something that we were all looking forward to. And was in the works for a while, and so glad that we could make that happen. I mean, that was obviously huge. But from the podium, from the general podium discussion, these were kind of interrelated for me. I know that it got a lot of attention when Kyrie said, basically, our dreams are possible now because Klay is here. It was before that something he said that struck me even more when he said, we've become a big three now that Klay is here. I don't know that the outside perception matches that, but I thought that is very instructive of the way that Kyrie and the Mavericks are approaching this and just trying to make Klay Thompson understand how important they see him and his arrival to this team. And then also, as some of the things Kyrie said were relayed to Klay when it was his turn at the podium, like he was openly joyous. And like, I think he really appreciated those sentiments. And so I think that's all part of Klay Thompson's comfort level in getting settled in as a Maverick, which again, like Tim said today, it is still jarring. And so it is a shock to the system still to see him wearing a Mavericks uniform. We haven't seen him play yet as a Mav. But like, they are really trying to make him feel like, dude, you are a huge part of this. You are the guy that is going to help push us over the top. And, I do think that's an important and wise approach because, when Klay Thompson feels the love, he's going to play better. Last season, he most definitely did not feel the love, even after everything he's accomplished as a Warrior.
What can people expect from you and from coverage of the team over the next few days? You've shared a little bit about their schedule. They're having 2-a-days that start today. What time of day is this all going on, and what are you got in the works whenever you're out there?
So, and look, we're finding out a little bit on the fly here because it's the Mavs have not traditionally done this. The Mavs have not made a habit of leaving town to do training camp. So this is
a lot of teams do. But Dallas is never one of those teams.
Say it again?
A lot of teams do traditionally do an out-of-town training camp. Dallas has never been one of those teams.
I think Brad Townsend actually went back and did the research. I think in the early 90s, was there a trip to Abilene maybe before I got to...
Wow.
Abilene.
Somebody looked that one up and backed me up on it. Brad actually did the research. And unfortunately, I don't have it at my fingertips. But in the Quinn Buck, before I got to town, they did go somewhere for an out-of-town training camp. Last season, obviously, was they were on a league trip to Abu Dhabi. That was different. But this was their choice to go to Vegas. 2-a-days today, 2-a-days tomorrow, a full off day Thursday. So Wednesday night, Thursday is bonding time for these guys. Friday, they'll be back on the floor. It's not yet clear Friday if we'll see one practice or two on Friday, fly back Saturday, and then on Sunday, they've got the open practice in Dallas. So I don't like to jinx these things before they happen. I am hopeful, fingers crossed, working on what I hope will be another one-on-one discussion with a Maverick of high standing. And let's just hope that it happens. Like I said, I don't want to celebrate till we've hit record and it is safely in the can, as they say in the industry. But that is the plan.
Well, I hope it does, because we sent you out there with a lot of dollars worth of equipment, and I know you're keeping it safe.
Talk about that equipment for just a second, because first of all, the last time I was in the office, and I know it's been a while, so
like 2 months ago, dude.
The last time
you need to come to work.
Our GM Ben, had the temerity to like hover 3 feet away from our show set wearing a Chelsea shirt. That was 1. Strike 2, he says, hey man, so after the incomparable Cat Viaba carries me through yesterday, gets me done, they're like, okay, can you take some cameras with you to Vegas for the shoot we need to do? And I'm thinking, well, certainly these are packed in a very fancy, dedicated case for the cameras. No.
Yeah, we don't have any Pelicans at DLLS. That's for
There it is. GM
Oh
Ben
my lord!
loads stuff in the gaudiest looking suitcase I have ever seen. Of course, key members of Luka's team are on my flight. They see me toting around this laughable suitcase, and I'm still struggling to get over. I mean, look at that thing. Come on, man.
Yeah, if you're just listening and not watching, it is a very rare and special combination of kind of turquoise, dark blue, and this hot, vibrant neon pink.
Is this
kind of
like a Hawaiian
palm
type
tree
of
leaves?
suitcase?
Yeah, it's like palm trees. I would say it's
Yeah,
palm
it
trees
is.
with a very.
It's supposed to give vacation vibes.
It's
I don't know if it's
beautiful.
doing
It
that.
looks like you're headed straight to the Bahamas.
It's beautiful.
I
It looks like you could only be purchased in the Bahamas.
Probably.
As someone who has no technological ability whatsoever, I was actually like,
switch back.
cool to bring the cameras. Like, I can't wait to see the really fancy case that I'm going to get to, get off the carousel and look like I'm some big technological expert. No, look at that thing, man. That is hideous. So GM Ben, strike two.
You thought it was gonna be like the suitcase that's in this is embarrassing, the Tarantino film, Pulp Fiction. Thank you. You thought you're going to open it up and there's just like a magical aura of
Whatever comes out
audio
of that,
equipment coming
yes.
out of it, and no, instead it looks like you're going to you're flying
Mrs.
Spirit
Doubtfire's,
Airlines
like, vacation
to
trip.
to like
That's what it looked like. I'm just saying.
Unbelievable. Strike two, GM Ben. Strike two.
No, it's
you
great.
know what strike the real first strike was? It wasn't the Chelsea shirt. It was still in Cole Palmer from your team.
Well, look, I love me some Cole Palmer, and I have to say it is hard to watch him. I mean, I was in England when he scored 4 goals in the first half on Saturday. It is hard to watch that, but I mean, he's gone up another level. He has seized this opportunity at Chelsea. He was not finishing like that for City when, I mean, he did score some goals and had some moments, but he was not playing with just the absolute lethal, he has just become a lethal finisher for the last season and change at Chelsea. So I begrudgingly have to say I'm happy for him because we do love him at the Stein household. But yeah, I mean, if you want to, I mean, Ben is the GM, so I don't want to. I probably shouldn't be giving him 3 strikes before we get to Halloween.
Please.
yeah. We celebrated our 1-month birthday
Right,
this
like
weekend.
let's just relax on Ben for just a little bit because we got to get some more stuff done.
Well, we'll discuss this more on the DLLS Tim and Stein Talk Soccer show.
Yeah.
Still, if we don't get in Ben's bad graces, maybe he'll let us launch that show.
Last thing before we let you go, Mark, as they got practice today, what can we expect in terms of the intensity? Jason Kidd talking about the competition that's going to be fostered in training camp and in practice. What are your expectations when it comes to what we may see on the floor and what you anticipate talking with the entire team about?
I mean, really, my first question will be just how long this first session goes. It's funny because just talking to the Mavs, they said, maybe you want to be there by 11. And I'm like, first practice of the season starts at 10. It ain't going to be over at 11. I'm thinking more like it's going to be over 12:31. I would anticipate at least 2 hours on the floor for session number 1, because again, they do have so many guys. It is such a deep team, and it's one of the challenges that this coaching staff faces. Again, we've talked about it before. Beyond center, everybody wants to focus on center. Who's going to start, Lively or Gafford? But this team has 6 guards. I know Tim Cato was asking at the press conference yesterday, Luka, Kyrie, and Klay are really all guards, the 3 of them. But then you bring in Dinwiddie, Hardy, Exum. All these guys can't play. And so I do think it's going to be a very competitive camp right off the bat.
Well, Mark, as always, we appreciate your time here on DLLS Mavs. Going to be covering everything for the Mavericks and training camp in Las Vegas. Really looking forward to your coverage all week long. And we will talk to you again tomorrow, live from Las Vegas, recapping not only today's practices, but also getting ready for tomorrow's as well. Enjoy your time out there in Sin City.
All right, guys, be good. And that's right. Next 2 days, I will have reports from the gym. So let's see. I don't know how much practice we'll actually see, but I will get some stuff in the notebook. I promise.
Appreciate you, Mark. Have a good time.
All right, guys, be good.
There he goes, our National and Mavericks NBA insider, Marc Stein, live in Las Vegas. He will be there covering everything this week for the Mavericks in training camp, and he'll be back with us tomorrow as well. We'll be live at 12 p.m. here as we get you ready for the rest of the week for Mavericks in training camp. Coming up here in just a moment, speaking of training camp, which Maverick has the most to prove in this important camp this upcoming season? Rugged Road. Head to ruggedroadoutdoors.com and use code DLLS for 10% off. Rugged Road is dedicated to creating innovative and durable outdoor gear for adventurers who demand the very best. Our products are designed with the highest quality materials and craftsmanship, ensuring they perform in the toughest conditions, whether you're on land or water. Rugged Road is geared to accompany you on every single adventure. Unlike other heavy-duty coolers, Rugged Road coolers are incredibly light, making them easy to transport on any trip. Crafted to handle the toughest conditions and environments, their coolers are built to last, ensuring they keep up with any adventure. Their coolers are guaranteed to keep their contents cool for up to 7 days, but oftentimes much longer than that.
They should do a cooler with the same print as Stein's suitcase.
They should.
I would use
That
that.
should be kind of dope, actually.
I'd take that to Vegas with me.
You would take that to Vegas with you?
Yeah.
With some cool drinks in there? I could see that. We could do that. Perfect for a variety of outdoor activities from fishing, tubing, camping, and tailgating. These coolers are designed to meet the needs of every outdoor or sports enthusiast. So gear up for your next adventure with Rugged Road coolers. Reliable, durable, and built to be used. Rugged Road is your ultimate outdoor companion. Head to ruggedroadoutdoors.com and use code DLLS for 10% off today.
I just want to shout out some of our diehard content on the website. So alldlls.com/diehard is where you can, for less than $7 a month, gain access to the entire website. Our 3 most recent articles published. Sean Shapiro, Stars writer, just published a Why the Logan Stakehoven Calder Trophy Hype is Real film study. And that dude knows hockey the way that none of us even know basketball. So if you want to become an educated Stars fan, check that out. Jeff Wilson over on Rangers wrote an article about how Rangers GM Chris Young needs a little bit of cash to turn this thing around if they want to make the playoffs next year. And then we got Joe Hoyt on Cowboys talking about how the heck are the Cowboys going to replace Micah Parsons and Take Lawrence? And is the sky really falling? Those are just some of the diehard-only articles on our site that are available to you if you sign up today. So alldlls.com/diehard.
Become a diehard member today and get your physical diehard card at alldlls.com/diehard. Who's got the most to prove as the Mavericks begin training camp today? An all-important training camp for this team coming off a finals appearance and looking to get back and defend their Western Conference championship this season. We just heard from Marc Stein. As he is in Las Vegas, he will be there all week covering everything for your Dallas Mavericks. So I posed a question to you gentlemen here in just a moment because we heard from Jason Kidd yesterday at Media Days discussing what this starting lineup could be looking like and how it will fit from an X's and O standpoint, and went into a very interesting answer about the kind of competition and sacrifice the team is going to have to make this upcoming season. Take a listen.
Yeah, on paper we got a lot of starting guards, starting centers. We got a lot of starters, and so I think when you look at training camp and you just talking to the guys before I came out, we're gonna instigate competition in training camp. We're gonna instigate competition in practice to make each other better. To make the game easier. And so we'll see how that pans out, who starts. We know that we can go out on a limb and say there's 2 guys or 3 guys that are going to start. But I think when you talk about the season, as I just talked with the guys too about, injuries, being able to be ready to start or to, if you feel like you're on the 3rd team, there could be an injury. Now you're going to be a backup, and the backup becomes a starter. But we're not afraid to start the 3rd string either. And so just being prepared, and those guys understand that. They've worked extremely hard this summer, and we do have a lot of guys who want to play. And we're going to try to figure out on this journey to get everybody the proper minutes. but everything we're doing is to win a championship, and so we all have to sacrifice. We're gonna sometimes, put our individual goals to look at the team goal first, and if we can do that, that puts us in a good seat.
Mavericks are going to have to make some sacrifices this year, not just from their individual standpoint, but looking toward the greater goal and what that competition is going to look like. And that starts in earnest today, gentlemen, with training camp in Vegas. So, Bobby, I'll start with you. Who has the most to prove as the Mavericks open up training camp today?
Man, first I just want to say you could hear Rick Carlisle's voice in Jason Kidd just then talking about stay ready and how everybody needs to make sacrifices and how you never know if you're going to be third string one night and then starting the next night. And Rick would have this way, and Kidd kind of does it too, where like if you have a sixth man, you want to keep your sixth man as the sixth man, which means if the starter goes out, you're going to put the third stringer in the lineup so that the sixth man stays the sixth man. So like that is going to apply to the entire roster. And Mark was talking about all the guards, so I'm going to start there. I think it's got to be Jaden Hardy, a guy that has a lot to prove. He's got a lot to gain. Last year of his rookie deal on a second-round contract, he's the lowest paid guard on the roster. Like, there's a lot of reasons why he won't get the, he's not the versatile defender that Grimes or Exum is. He's not the experienced guy that Dinwiddie is. There's a lot of reasons that he won't be the preferred guard off the bench, whether that's third guard or fourth guard minutes. It might take an injury for him to crack the rotation, unless he proves something, because he's got something that none of the other guards have, which is that ability to get past anybody. So if he can complement his speed and his catch and shoot ability with a little bit of defense, then he's clearly the third guard on the team. If he can't, then he's, in my opinion, clearly the sixth guard on the team. And there's really kind of no in between.
I feel like the three of us are just going to pick different backup guards.
They got a bunch of them to choose from.
I mean, that's good. That's good sports debate.
So you took
Exactly.
Hardy. The player I'm thinking about is Dante Exum, because there was a 4 or 5 week stretch where Dante Exum was the third most influential player on the Mavericks. Now, Kyrie Irving was out during that time. I'm saying Luka and Lively were 1 and 2, but that was Exum. He was that good. He earned a starting spot. And even if we think due to his injuries, due to the way, maybe he's not going to be a starter on this team. We know that. But this is a player that can just emerge as the best guard out of this bunch. I genuinely believe he can be the best one out of this quartet. And I thought about saying Quentin Grimes, and maybe that's a better answer.
Maybe that's Kevin's answer.
Maybe that's Kevin's answer.
It is actually.
Well,
now that you mention it,
let me conclude. Was I right? Was I right?
You were.
The three of us are just gonna pick, and we know what Spencer Dinwiddie is, but I'm gonna stick with Exum. I think that he can prove that he is the right player to defend these players that Dallas needs to defend. To guard these guards, to be a guy who hits a lot of his spot up shots, to just add connectivity, to add dynamism to the roster. I'm going to stick with Exum.
Quentin Grimes goes 6'5", 210. He's had some injury concerns, but he's 25 years of age. They brought him over, moving Tim Hardaway Jr. in a salary dump over to Detroit. Quentin Grimes has a chance to have a real impact on this team. I'm going to borrow something you had said a while back. The sixth man potential that Quentin Grimes has on this team, with his ability to defend, shoot the ball from three, he's got a chance to make a real impact. And I'm interested to see how quickly he not only assimilates to this team, but what kind of camp he's going to have to really stand out from the plethora of guards that they do have on this team, given the contract situation of Dante Exum, what Jaden Hardy has to prove as a guy that can potentially be a contributor outside of just being a scorer, and can he do some other things himself. I think Quentin Grimes has the most versatility of the guys that we're talking about here, coupled with the age, to feel like if he does break out, he has a chance to be a long-term fit for the Mavericks, given what kind of salary cap situation we could be talking about them with Luka and Kyrie and some of the other guys that could be commanding contracts in the future. Quentin Grimes has a chance with his age and his abilities to really stand out. I think this is a really important camp for him to give us a window into what not only could be for this team now, but potentially in the future as well, given what this team is going to be asking for him.
And with Quentin Grimes and Hardy and Exum all have the same thing in common, with Spencer Dinwiddie as well. They're all on the last year of their contract.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of stuff isn't an accident. Every single one of those players is playing for their, this is a little hyperbolic, but for their NBA career. Like,
Exum potentially.
yeah, will
I
Dante
meant to
Exum,
mention that's another reason why Exum is on my
will
list.
he be in the league?
Yeah.
Will
I
Spencer,
think
Spencer
this is-
Dinwiddie, you're 31, 32 now. Are you going to get a multi-year deal, or are you just a minimum guy from now on? You know, Quentin Grimes, you're 25 with a little bit of an injury history. Can you be counted on to get 8 figures on your next whatever? I don't know how many figures a deal is. I can't count that high. But like, are you a minimum guy, or are you going to have to prove it? Jaden Hardy, are you going to go the way of a guy like Dennis Smith Jr. or Marco Fultz is like way good, and he's not even on a team. Like, it is extremely tough to make an NBA roster in this era. And all of these guys are fighting for their spots in the league and fighting for multiple years on their contract and, you know, solidifying their future for themselves and their family. Like, there's a lot of desperation here. So I would say, I mean, maybe it's just a 4-way tie between all of them, to say nothing of Maxi Kleber, who's now been struggling with injuries for many years and the shooting numbers are falling off. To say nothing of Omax Prosper, who you're on a rookie deal, so it's a cheap deal, but like, are you even an NBA player? Like, you know, there's a lot of guys that have something to prove despite how good and deep this roster is.
You know, remember when we talked about expansion, just the concept, you know, still a few years out. There's more than 450 NBA caliber players.
Yeah.
I love that word. I love knowing how to say words.
English is good to know.
Yeah. There are more than 450 players, and you know, that deserve to be in the NBA, and it's tough. And if you're playing for a team that just went to the NBA Finals, it's way tougher. So.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the reasons why the competition portion of this aspect is so big, because this team did just go to the finals. So guys understand the sense of urgency that's there and what they're going to have to try and compete with every single day. When they look to their left and they see a Dante Exum, when they look to their right, they see a Spencer Dinwiddie. They also see another guy in Quentin Grimes who's trying to figure his way out. There are a lot of guys who know what time it is here. And Jason Kidd, I think, is going to really push that in terms of the intensity of what this camp looks like so far. So guys have real opportunities to stand out and make splashes for this team. So I'm looking forward to this camp. I think we're going to hear some really good things. Our guy, Marc Stein, who, of course, is in Vegas, going to be providing us a lot of coverage there as well. But just what that atmosphere is going to feel like from a day-to-day basis.
And a lot of that is on Kidd, too, to manage not only the expectations that the players have for their own playing time, but also, especially once the season gets rolling, maybe Spencer Dinwiddie starts as the third guard and has 3 bad games in a row. Is he still the third guard? If Jaden Hardy has a 15-point game, is Jaden Hardy now the third guard? Like, is it going to be this constant state of riding the hot hand? Because that can be grating on everybody, you know? So there is...
But also can keep you on your toes as well. Like, hey, man, but you just got to stay ready.
And early in the season, he's an experimenter. He's a tinkerer. But there does eventually have to be some level of consistency so guys know what to expect. And in the NBA, everything is unpredictable. So we'll see. But, I mean, it's going to be a delicate balancing act for sure.
I don't think it is. I think every player is going to be so good that you're going to play them all every game.
The same amount?
15-man rotation.
I love it.
Every player gets, trying to do quick math. This is very difficult. 18 minutes?
It's 20.
Remember, you're an English
so
guy, not a math guy, Tim. Don't worry about it.
Don't
even worry about it.
Well, yeah, maybe not 20.
I do want to throw this question to Tim because he spoke a little bit about this yesterday. It comes from DJ Dog 31. Who's the point of attack defender for the Mavericks when it's Quentin Grimes, Najee Marshall, PJ Washington? Of course, we know that it was Derrick Jones Jr. last year.
Luka.
Good point.
Why not?
Why not?
You
He's
guys
gotta
think I'm joking, but I'm being serious.
Good job, Jason.
Luka will have to defend. I wasn't a very good Jason Kidd impression. I'm doing my best. I'm going to work on it throughout the season. I promise.
Like, Josh Green is objectively a better athlete than any of the 3
talking about somebody
Mavs
who
big
got
3.
sent to the shadow realm. Good gracious.
But
man,
where he failed as the point of attack defender with the Mavs is he would just die on screens all the time. Like, the screen took him out. So all the Mavs need you to do as the point of attack defender is be able to navigate screens. So it comes down to whichever of the 3 of Kyrie, Luka, Klay, whichever one is the best at that will be the one that does it at the beginning of games.
I think Najee is going to be the guy who gets a lot of those responsibilities early on.
Grimes too, for sure.
I think Grimes. There was a moment where
you guys are making my case for him when it comes to Quentin Grimes.
There's a moment where Jason
I'm high on Grimes.
Shouted out.
Yes,
I'm really high on Grimes. I think Grimes is gonna. I think he's gonna be awesome there. I think he's gonna be. I think he's just gonna be so
injected
good.
Into the veins, please.
And I really do like that Najee brings. Like, we lost Josh Green. I I don't
Yeah.
know. You guys,
We as Mavs fans,
as a Mavs
the voice of the
collective,
Mavs body.
as we in the studio, we lost the ability to talk about Josh Green because he's
Yeah.
on the other team.
It was
That's
taken
the
from
right way
us.
to say that. I don't think anybody would confuse me as a anyway.
It doesn't.
You're doing
really
a real
matter.
Josh Green right thing right now.
Those
Just jumping up in the air, hoping to
sneaky
pass it
good-
somewhere.
Those
Come on, Tim. Come on, man.
You're leaving your feet.
You
Dude. You're
leave your
about to
feet,
hit the
dog.
ground.
Find it, my guy.
I was actually going to say that. We still have. Honestly, let's go to break. We're done. We're done with this break. It's break time.
Coming up next, how does the Karl-Anthony trade to the Big Apple affect what's going to be happening with the Dallas Mavericks and overall in the Western Conference this upcoming year?
I'm here to remind you again why you need to become a diehard. You go to alldlls.com/diehard. There's no shot I'm going to be able to stretch this out to 2 minutes. So
I got you. That's what we're here
Well,
for.
Bobby, so I was thinking about writing something.
Oh, okay.
Hey,
Like
look
what?
at your
yeah.
teammate
Let's have,
picking
a,
you
let's
up.
have an editorial meeting live on air.
Yeah, let's have an editorial meeting. Also, people chime in to the chat
With some story ideas.
Yeah, story
that you
ideas.
got.
Shoot
work
'em
for
this
Tim.
way.
Create more work for
I think it's time to write about where the Mavericks might fall win total wise.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Like expectations.
Yeah. So what would realistically have to happen for the Mavericks to lose 40 or to win 40 or fewer games? Catastrophic injury. We don't talk about that.
Ooh.
Yeah,
But
we
what
don't.
about 41 to 45?
Ooh. Okay.
Now that's
That's an
a little bit
interesting range.
trickier. It's very unlikely.
You can be a good team that wins 43 games.
You can be a really good team. You can be a good team that
Mhm.
wins 45 games.
Yeah.
It's a combination of maybe they have a lot of clutch.
Failures.
Yeah, just games don't go their way. Like
losing close
there is
games, you know?
randomness in the NBA. There is still randomness. And what if they just have a really bad clutch record for any?
Well, you
given
don't want to
reason?
give the game away because I feel like you're talking about doing this for the diehards.
Yeah.
So we don't want to give away all your ideas.
Well, I'm not gonna flesh out all of these.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Let them cook, Bobby. Now let them cook. Now
What you actually want to read is the scenario where Dallas wins 60 or more.
Oh,
that's
I
the
do wanna
one
read
right there.
that.
That's it right
I do
there.
want to read that.
Yes,
And you're not going to be able to read that if you're not a diehard.
Yeah. So,
So
you
take
gotta
it from there.
do that. So Tim and I are going to be writing post-game stuff for every game this year. There's obviously stuff going on with Cowboys, Rangers, and Stars as well. So go to alldlls.com/diehard. Sign up to become a diehard today. It's less than $7 a month. It'll change your life.
Whoa.
You get a free shirt. You get a discounts on all future merch, discounts on all future events. You get to join the diehard only Discord. I think there's something else. You get the diehard card in the mail.
that's right.
We give you a high
Land
five on
it.
there and more. So do that right now. Right now. Sorry. Whoops.
Good job, Bobby. Good job. You feel good? You good?
I feel good.
How does the Karl-Anthony Towns trade? I don't know what a Karl-Anthony trade
How
is.
does the Carmelo Anthony trade? That happened 15 years ago.
weird. Like all of us are
glitching like
Yeah.
crazy? Yeah, we are.
At least it's not just me. I think it
least not
started
today.
with me, but I'm contagious.
You set the tone early.
You
yeah.
sure did.
I've infected
Kind of
y'all
like a
with
Jason Kidd practice. Good job.
inability to speak
Good job.
disease.
How does the Karl-Anthony Towns trade affect what the Mavericks are going to be doing this upcoming year? How does it change what the West looks like? As we saw the bombshell news that was dropped on Friday night. By the way, I was sitting there minding my own business, just scrolling, X, Twitter, whatever the
I was
hell
at
we
a
call it.
wedding.
You were at a wedding?
Yeah.
And the Karl-Anthony Towns news just dropped like a bomb. He's headed to the New York Knicks in exchange for Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo. We don't get the Villanova Knicks this year.
We were robbed.
We were robbed of the opportunity to see what a college team would look like in the NBA. Dante DiVincenzo headed to the Minnesota Timberwolves. But obviously, it's going to shake up the Western Conference as we know it. With Karl-Anthony Towns, after spending 10 years in Minnesota having their best year last year, arguably the best defense in the league. Of course, losing to your Dallas Mavericks in the Western Conference Finals. But, Bobby, this is now Anthony Edwards' team for good. If it wasn't before, it's very clear now with Karl-Anthony Towns out of town, if you will, that it is now Anthony Edwards' team going forward here.
Yeah, I mean it was a big trade, and I have some thoughts about the way the NBA works these days that we'll get to in a second. But I do want to talk about how this trade will affect the Mavs.
Yeah,
right?
basketball
Yes.
court first and then big picture.
Yeah. So the Mavs and the Wolves met in the Western Conference Finals last year, and Towns really, really struggled. Now he had one very good game in that series, and that was the game the Wolves won. But he struggled. However, where he was super effective in that series was backing down PJ Washington in the post. and taking Mavs bigs off the bounce. Okay, so those two things. He couldn't really get it going from outside. His floor game was like okay, but he was really good in the post. And Julius Randle, for all of his injuries, and sometimes he struggles to shoot from the perimeter as well, he's always been a very good mid post and even sometimes low block player. And so even though I think Towns is a better player than Randle, that strength will only be magnified if the Mavs and Wolves do meet again in the playoffs. I'm not too bullish on Randle's fit with Ant. But I do think Randle is a better passer than Towns. You look back last year, Towns and Gobert were the #1 alley-oop duo in the NBA, which is kind of weird to think about, but it's true. And Randle's a better passer. Randle fits really well with Nas the way that Towns did. Randle fits decently well with Gobert in that respect too. But I think the real dangerous aspect of this trade from the Mavs' perspective is the Wolves getting DiVincenzo. You look around their roster last year, Conley was limited in that series with injury. There was really nobody on the team that I feared shooting the ball outside of Naz Reid. Nickeil Alexander-Walker struggled. McDaniels was struggling. Even Ant struggled a little bit. Conley was hit or miss before he left with injury, and they had no backup guards off the bench. Now you got DiVincenzo, feisty point of attack defender, but more importantly, a dead-eye three-point shooter. I think, made the third most threes in the NBA last year behind only Luka and Steph.
That's correct.
That dude can fill it up and light it up. So they got a lot more offense, and they got a lot deeper by drafting Dillingham too. So the Wolves did get quite a bit deeper in the backcourt, and that I think could make a difference in this series.
I think the Wolves are worse. I'm sorry.
I would agree.
I think specifically for the Mavs, it's interesting. I think they're worse relative to the Nuggets and the Thunder now, but they are better against the Mavs. I think maybe.
Randle is kind of a punching bag for analytics types. I don't think it's a little. I've done it too. I've been guilty of this, and I think it's a little bit unfair. The passing strength is something that's really underrated. That is something, being a good passer makes up for the fact. It can make up for some spacing issues.
And Ant struggled so much with passing in that series against the Mavs.
Yes.
So much with playmaking.
If he becomes a better playmaker, that changes the trajectory a little bit for the
Randle has averaged 5 assists over the past 4 seasons. That I knew he was a good passer, but like looking that up, that just shocked me. He is out here playing point forward in a lot of different ways. I don't love the way I think he diminishes Edwards. And I think that's, maybe Edwards, because that's the thing, like just because one player, just because Randle is a good passer does not mean he makes Edwards a better passer. I think the downgrade of spacing is going to be worse for Edwards than the upgrade of Randle and what he can do with a passing, what he can do as
you can't go Randle 5 out though, like so you can go Randle at the 5 with like Conley, DiVincenzo, Ant, and McDaniels, or like something to where you are manufacturing.
What are you trying to turn
space.
Minnesota into the French national team?
Oh.
If that's the case, then we're good over here with Dallas for sure.
I think they're slightly worse. I think the big question for them, I think it's very clear they traded for Randle to see if they can trade him again. I don't think that Minnesota sees him as a long-term fit on this team. Julius Randle makes $29 million next season. He makes $31 million with a player option in the 25-26 season. It's going to get a lot harder. It is getting harder to trade big contracts.
And doesn't he have like a 15% like trade kicker or something like that as well?
I'm not on Spot Rack.
Okay,
probably should look that up. Someone can look that up.
If I remember looking the other night, I think he has a 15% trade kicker.
It's going to get harder. This is a big reason why the Karl-Anthony Towns deal happened now, not next summer. This is why the NBA. This is how the NBA is shifting. This is how it's moving. Because of the second apron, because of all the consequences that come with it, it's going to be so much harder to move these big money deals. And so I do kind of wonder, it's the same thing. Like Brandon Ingram, everybody thought he was going to be moved. He couldn't get moved. Jeremy Grant has recommitted to Portland at various times, but do you think Portland hasn't tried to trade him? They've tried to trade him.
He's been involved in a lot of trade rumors over the last couple of years. For sure.
Yeah. Randle has been struck with a kind of, he's seen as a floor raiser and a ceiling limiter. And when you make that level of money, it's hard to deal with a player like that. I think he's going to be a little bit better. I think he's a better player than sometimes he gets knocked for, like I said. But
we're talking about a guy that was made 2 All-NBA teams in his career.
But
he's a second team and a third team All-NBA.
He was like, before they got Jalen, he was the king of New York.
He was.
He was that
exactly.
guy.
And some of it is just like, he can look really rough to watch sometimes. When he's off, it looks bad. And that, like, we all have subliminal biases where if we see somebody just like put his head down and go to the rim and bowl someone over and commit a charge, kind of like Karl-Anthony Towns used to do, like, it just looks bad. And nobody likes watching that. He's a better player. He's going to, Minnesota's still around the same tier, but I think they're a little bit worse. And I'm not sure it's going to be as easy to trade Randall as perhaps people are saying, as perhaps the intention is.
I just think it's a tragedy, man. I think it's a tragedy. I feel bad for Wolves fans.
This is a financial trade. That's what this was.
They're coming off their best season in franchise history.
Yeah.
Like, they made it to the Western Conference Finals. This has been a cursed franchise. They never, ever go to the playoffs, ever. Kat said it himself. He was like, damn, we've been losing for 10 years. How much more losing I got to do before I win?
Gotta keep losing.
And,
yes, I remember that.
He's your number one pick. KG is the only guy ahead of him on, like, basically any of these lists. He's already the franchise leader in three-pointers made, I think. Like, he's a Wolves legend, and he's like he's the hope, and he's entering his prime, or maybe the tail end of his prime, whatever. He's like 28 years old. You have Ant. You're so excited for the future of this thing, and then boom, because your owner and your possible new owner, like, battling it out in court over who has the right to own this team and collect all the TV money. Nobody wants to spend any money, so they're going to
turn in your purchase agreement in time and then all that stuff.
Yeah, and like this is literally just a financial thing because we got a rich dude who owns the team and rich dudes that are trying to buy the team, and neither of them want to pay luxury tax. They just want to make profit.
Let me take it a step further than that.
Lame.
It's not just financial. This is what Adam Silver wants.
Yes.
This is what the NBA said. This is the CBA that they implemented. These are the choices that they are making, that teams will have to do things like this. And now some of this is going to be, catching up to the current CBA.
Yeah.
Teams that operated under one CBA and brought this, under the current CBA, I don't think Minnesota ever trades for Gobert. Because they would have looked at their team, they would have looked at their talent, they would have looked at the money that they were going to have to pay to these players, and they never would have traded for Gobert. But this is the choice that the NBA is making. They say, they said they want parity.
They want redistribution of talent.
They don't want, they don't want, what's the word?
Owners want to make money.
Yeah, they don't want super teams. They don't want dynasties.
Yes.
Owners want to make money. And the way that you don't make money is, one, you don't own a team in LA or New York, and other teams that are in LA and New York are super good. So you're trying to make the small market owners happy. That's one. Two, owners want to make money and they don't want to pay the luxury tax, right? So that's why the second apron is such a powerful, fearsome thing. Yeah, it's the boogeyman. It's the monster hiding under your bed. And so teams are afraid to commit long-term money. The Celtics just won the title. Their owner's going to sell the team because the luxury tax bill is going to be so. This is all about making money. That's it.
Like, to put it another way, to really put a bow on it, getting rid of dynasties, making it impossible to keep good teams together, you know who that helps? It helps the owners that are bad.
Yes.
The owners that don't spend, that don't do a good job putting together a front office, because when there's more parity, it's easier for a poorly run team to just have a good season.
To fail upward.
Upwards.
You just get lucky. A guy sprains an ankle and now you win.
And all of a sudden you're making a little bit of money because you're in the playoffs. And
let's not pretend like there's not a history of rule changes in sports to help owners, like the Stepien rule, which exists. You can't trade consecutive
because
future
of Dallas.
Because of the Mavs. The Mavs ripped off the Cavs so badly in the 80s that the NBA was like, we can't let this happen.
It was
like a lot of rules in pro sports. Yeah.
7 first rounders.
I think it was 5, but still disgusting amount in a row. And the Mavs nailed every single one of those picks. Like it was incredible. But like the real issue is the NBA markets itself as a transaction league. This is a league where blockbuster trades can happen on a Friday night. That's it. This is the whole thing. That's what drives ratings. It's superstars and then superstars getting traded. And oh my God, it's amazing. But now every time a transaction happens, we all got to pull out our calculator. We all got to consult our local lawyer and pull up the CBA and turn to page 7,412 and figure out, well, what are the luxury tax ramifications on the second apron? And what will their bill be now? And we evaluate trades on whether it's a good financial move and not a good basketball move. And that is so boring. That's so effing boring, dude. This is supposed to be fun.
Preach,
it's entertainment. Bobby. It's basketball. It is not math class.
Preach, Bobby.
We're not in law school. Fix this. God, it's so lame.
It's silly. Why I don't understand the motivation for
There's your clip
the
for today, Tanner.
for the NBA to look at the NFL and say, let's be a little bit more like that.
The NFL salary cap is so complicated.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, it's exactly that.
It's impossible to follow into that crap, but yeah, there's a lot of parity, but that's because there's 53 players on a team.
You can't, the NBA will never replicate the
let Bobby cook
NFL.
for the rest of the
It has
show.
to choose its own lane because the NBA does not, you don't, our carnate desire for violence is not satiated by the NBA.
Woo!
But
we're getting real deep today here on DLLS.
it's also
Mavs.
got
Good
82
grief.
games. It's got 82 games.
Cannibalism, violence.
Like the
salary
real,
caps.
the real way to make the NBA
Bobby
better,
going ballistic.
reduce the number of games. Please.
But that will mean less money. It's all about money, dude. It's a business.
Okay, expand for expansion teams. Drop it to 72.
Well, they're now we just
Same number of tickets.
You just
saved the
saved the
world.
NBA.
Yeah.
But like,
it should be lower than 72, but-
is just it's a shame. I apologize to Wolves fans. It sucks. Hey, maybe the Wolves will be good. Maybe they turn around and trade Randall for something else. But like, it is literally a catastrophe for the league whenever a small market team that has its best season in franchise history immediately feels compelled to trade one of their most storied players ever just to save a few bucks.
And you know what's hilarious?
That is the downside of greed. That is the downside of the CBA. That is the downfall of fandom. Like, this sucks. I hate talking about players as assets. I hate talking about salary tax. I don't care about any of it. Change the freaking rules and make it fun again.
And nominally, this was put in place so that the Warriors and the Clippers, these are the two teams that were really pushing.
Yeah.
Because Joe
way
Lacob,
over.
yeah, he loves
Like,
to pay
these
some
were the
luxury
two
tax.
teams.
Yes.
Yeah.
So nominally, that's the reason.
Yes.
And those are two big market teams, but it was a small market team that traded their, one of their best players, their second best player, third best, whatever.
Yeah.
They traded one of their players to New York.
Yeah.
To the
To
Knicks.
the big team.
So
The big team. They did it.
even nominally, what you're trying to do is like, well,
You're
the
helping
big, market
team out.
Yeah, those owners can just they keep spending and spending and spending and spending, and but like we got to curb that. It didn't work.
Yeah, you know who also is
So-
not hurting? The Celtics. But you know who is hurting? The Wolves and the Nuggets. So good job. Good job, NBA. We did it. We fixed it. We saved the world. Every billionaire is going to turn a profit this year, and all the small market teams suck. It's
Wouldn't
the
you
70s
think-
all
Bobby's not
over
done
again.
cooking.
Oh,
Cook,
it's just the
Bobby.
70s all over again. That's great.
I just get the sense that you're not thinking about the shareholders.
Dude,
Yeah.
I just can't do it. If you're a Wolves fan and you're watching this,
Somebody
I'm
give
sorry.
Bobby a towel. Give
K-Cat
Bobby a
out
towel.
there,
Give-
wherever
give
you
him
are,
some
I'm
water.
sorry.
Give him some water. We'll solve more of basketball's real problems tomorrow at 12 p.m. here on DLLS Mavs. Bobby will have his solution to world hunger as well here on the show.
I got ideas on that too. Don't even get me started.
For Bobby, Tim, I'm Kevin. We are DLLS Mavs. We'll be back at 12 p.m. tomorrow. Marc Stein live from Vegas as well with this training camp report on your Dallas Mavericks. We'll talk to you later. Peace.
We all silly like the mayor.